How did a century-old Islamic tradition become the center of one of Europe's most explosive cultural debates? Wow. Um, a single announcement from a mosque loudspeaker is now shaking political critics or political cycles across Europe. Danish politicians say their country should not sound like Islamabad. Muslim groups are saying this is a direct attack on religious freedom. Of course, supporters are calling to protect national identity, and critics are saying this is discrimination. And why are millions of people around the world suddenly paying attention to what is happening in Denmark? Stay with us because the story is about much more than a call to prayer. It's about immigration, identity, freedom, and the future of Europe itself, right? So we're going to go straight into this, and we're talking about what happens when European countries say the Islamic call to prayer is becoming too loud and too visible for public life in public life. Is this about protecting national identity? Is it about religious freedom? Or is it a sign of growing tension over immigration and integration in Europe? This is a controversial debate and is unfolding in Denmark, where politicians have proposed restrictions on the Islamic call to prayer known as Adhan, and supporters say Denmark must protect its culture and tradition. Critics argue that the move is unfairly targeting Muslims and threatening religious freedom. Today, we are breaking down what is happening, why it's happening, and why the entire world is paying attention. Welcome to World Daily. Across Europe, debates about immigration, multiculturalism, and religion have become increasingly heated over the last decades. Countries that once welcomed large numbers of migrants are now facing difficult questions. Questions like how much should newcomers adopt to local culture? How much religious expression should be visible in public spaces? And where should government draw the line between freedom and national identity? Denmark has become one of the countries leading this conversation. Now, a proposal involving the Islamic call to prayer is generating headlines worldwide, drawing reactions from Muslims, human rights groups, politicians, and ordinary citizens. Let's take a closer look. Now, what is Islamic call to prayer? For viewers who may not know, the Islamic call to prayer, known as the Adhan, is a religious announcement inviting Muslims to pray. Traditionally, it is recited 5 times a day. What this means is that a big megaphone is always placed in front of an Islamic center or a mosque, and a loud cry is made that will resound the whole neighborhood, calling everybody to pray. For Muslims, it's important religious tradition dating back to 1,400 years ago. However, in many Western countries, the use of loudspeakers for religious purposes has sometimes become controversial, maybe because of the noise and all of that. The debate often centers on balancing religious freedom with concerns about public noise and cultural identity. So why is Denmark discussing a ban? The controversy stems from growing concern among some Danish politicians who argue that public broadcasts of the Islamic call to prayer do not fit Denmark's cultural traditions. Supporters of restrictions says Denmark is historically a Christian country and should preserve its cultural characters. Some politicians have argued that public religious broadcasts from loudspeakers could alter the cultural atmosphere of communities. Others have gone even further, claiming that allowing widespread public calls to prayer could symbolize a broader cultural shift that many citizens did not vote for. These comments have sparked first debate. Denmark is changing the demographics. Okay, let's look at why Denmark is changing the demographics. To understand the debate, we need to examine the bigger picture. Over the last several decades, Denmark has expressed significant immigrations. I mean, a lot of people from Asia, Middle East, Africa have actually migrated to a lot of European countries, including Denmark. And as Muslim communities have grown, so has the number of mosques and Islamic centers. For many Muslims living in Denmark, this growth represents successful integration and the ability to practice their faith freely. For some critics, however, it raises concerns about preserving Danish traditions and rule. This difference in perspective lies at the heart of the current debate. Supporters of the restrictions speaks out. Let's look at the supporters. Those supporting restrictions argue that the issue is not religion itself, but public broadcasting. The point are that churches generally do not broadcast sermons through loudspeakers across neighborhoods. Like if you've lived in a Muslim community and you're living close to a mosque or an Islamic center, when a prayer is going on, the blast from the loudspeaker can literally deafen your ears, depending on the area, and everybody's going to hear it. And that's not peculiar to other religions, it's only common in Islam, even though they say it's dated back to 1,400 years and is a call to prayer and something like that. Some believe religious practices should remain primary within the places of worship, but the whole neighborhood will hear it. Others argue that public spaces should remain religiously neutral. Many supporters also connect the issue to broader concerns about immigration and social cohesion. They fear that cultural differences could eventually lead to divisions within society. Supporters insist that restrictions which apply to sound broadcasts rather than private religious practice. They say Muslims will still be free to pray and attend mosques, but that broadcasting of the whole community. That's the issue now. Now, Muslim communities are beginning to respond. Many argue that the call to prayer is a legitimate expression of religious freedom. They say restriction would send a message that Muslims are not fully accepted and acceptable members of society. Community leaders have pointed out that religious freedom is a fundamental right in democratic countries. They argue that if church bells are permitted, similar considerations should be given to Islamic traditions. Yeah, church bells don't ring a bell to the whole community. It's basically within the church premises. The noise does not echo like that of a loudspeaker. Some Muslims also feel that the debate unfairly singles out their faith while ignoring other forms of public religious expressions. As a result, many see the proposal as discriminatory rather than being neutral. Now, human rights have entered the debate, and they argue that democratic societies should be careful when limiting religious expressions. Aside Islam, other religious groups don't even make so much noise about their religion. Until you get to ask the person, you don't even get to see them express anything about their religion in public, right? You can't prove me wrong if I'm wrong. Many experts warn that restrictions targeting specific religious groups can increase social tension rather than reduce it. Some legal scholars have questioned whether measures will be consistent with European principles of religious freedom. Others says government must ensure that any restriction are applied fairly to all religions. The legal debate is likely to continue if any formal measures are introduced. Now, European borders are struggling with immigration, and the Danish debate is not happening in isolation. Across Europe, immigration have become one of the most important political issues. Countries including France, Germany, Sweden, Italy, the Netherlands, and others have all expressed heated debates about integration and national identity. Some citizens believe immigration has enriched their societies. Others worry about cultural change, security concerns, and pressures on public services. Political parties with stricter immigration policies have gained support in several European countries. As a result, issues involving religion often become symbols of larger political arguments. Now, let's look at why this issue is generating so much strong emotion. Of course, religion is deeply personal, and for believers, religious practices are often centered on identity. For critics, visible religious symbols may raise um, certain concerns about cultural transformation. When governments become involved, emotions can quickly escalate. Supporters of restrictions see themselves as defending national traditions. Opponents see themselves as defending fundamental freedoms because both sides believe they are protecting important values. Compromise becomes very difficult. Now, there are social media reactions, so I want to take a few of them. Like some users support Danish position, arguing that countries have the right to protect their cultural identity. Denmark is saying it's a Christian nation and don't want to be mixed up in that cultural noise. Others accuse politicians of targeting Muslims for political gains. Many people have called for mutual respect and peaceful coexistence. And meanwhile, the debate continues to attract international attention. from media outlets and political commentators around the world. So what happened next? At this stage, discussions and proposals continue to generate political debates. Any significant legal changes would likely face scrutiny from courts, human rights organizations, and European institutions. The outcome could influence similar debates elsewhere in Europe. Many observers believe the discussion is about more than loudspeakers. It reflects larger questions about identity, integration, immigration, and the future of multicultural societies. And these questions are unlikely to disappear anytime soon. Let's look at the bigger question. Can a country preserve its traditional culture while embracing diversity? Can religion freedom or religious freedom coexist with concerns about national identity? Can government find solutions that respect both community values and human rights? And can government find solutions that respect both community values and individual rights? Well, these are difficult questions with no easy answers. What is clear is that Denmark's debate has become part of a much larger conversation taking place across Europe and beyond. And the decision made today could shape discussions about religion, immigration, and national identity for years to come. Now, the controversy surrounding Denmark and Islamic call to prayer highlights one of the most important challenges facing modern society, balancing freedom, diversity, and cultural identity. Whether you support the proposal or oppose it, the debate raises important questions about how different communities can live together while respecting each other's beliefs and traditions. Well, what do you think? Should countries restrict public religious broadcasts, or should all faith be allowed equal expression in public spaces? Well, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this report, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update from World Daily. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in my next video. Bye.